trustees, Provost John Lucas, Dean Daniel Kento Yarowitz, faculty, staff, parents, guests, students, and of course, the class of 2014. Class of 2014, I congratulate you for your hard work and academic achievements. I join with faculty, staff, your family and friends gathered here today to wish you success in your careers and in your personal lives. Please join me in a big round of applause to the class of 2014. This 2014 graduation coincided with something very meaningful. The celebration of the 50th anniversary of SIT Graduate Institute, a school renowned for its internationally focused master's degrees, graduate certificates, and professional development programs. I share with you, class of 2014, your sense of purpose to go into the world to make a difference. And I'm pleased to be a part of the SIT Graduate Institute family as a former student, a faculty member, and today as the commencement speaker. This 2014 graduation coincided too with something terribly tragic: the 1994 genocide in Rwanda, a genocide in which I lost my mother, my father, and my 7 brothers and sisters. Life is indeed a tapestry of good things and bad things, of joys and tragedies. This is the paradoxical reality of life. When we undergo difficulties, we need to keep on going, trusting that along our path, opportunities lie beneath opportunity or difficulties, that challenges will make us stronger and lead us to where we ought to be. I was born in Rwanda on the shores of one of the most beautiful lakes in Africa, Lake Kivu, located between Rwanda and Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Although I was born during a civil war, I had no memory of this crisis. I was too young. What I remember is a happy childhood, swimming in Lake Kivu and playing soccer with my siblings and classmates. I had loving parents, nice neighbors, and good friends. My family grew the food we needed. We had cows, a coffee plantation, and a banana plantation. Life was truly good. This good life came to a halt in 1973 when an outbreak of violence took place against people of my ethnic group, the Tutsi. I couldn't believe such violence was possible. To make a long story short, my family survived. But as a 10-year-old boy, I was heartbroken by a near-death experience. I was horrified to see my parents scared, our house destroyed, and our cows taken. My father's decision afterward was to send me away to a foreign country, Congo. He told me violence could erupt again at any time. If we are killed, you will survive. I departed for Congo soon after. Once in Congo, I experienced unspeakable loneliness. I endured bullying from some of my schoolmates because I was a foreigner. My host family in Congo was nice, but I missed my family so much. Everything seemed to be bad to me. My begging to be allowed to return home met with my father's opposition. My mother pleaded for me as well, but my father decided that I stay in Congo. I had no choice but to remain in a place I considered a living hell. But there was opportunity in that hell, something I wouldn't have had if I had stayed in Rwanda. The opportunity was to have a secondary school education, the equivalent of middle school and high school in the American school system. Secondary school education can be taken for granted in America, but it is a great opportunity for developing countries. And 4 decades ago, in Rwanda, it was an extraordinary opportunity, and today it remains actually an extraordinary opportunity. In Rwanda at the time, less than 5% of elementary school graduates had access to secondary school education. And because the government of Rwanda discriminated against my ethnic group, my chances to go to secondary school were close to none. But in Congo, there were more schools and there was no discrimination. As a young boy away from home, I discovered the gifts of working hard, of studying hard. Gradually, instead of spending time thinking of how lonely and miserable I was, I began to realize how fortunate I was to be pursuing my education. Because I focused not on my difficulties, but on potential opportunities, I graduated from high school and I went on to graduate from university with a major in sociology. I became one of the 1% of Rwandans with a university degree. When I look back, I realized that without the sad outbreak of violence in Rwanda in 1973, my father wouldn't have sent me to Congo. Had I stayed in Rwanda, I certainly wouldn't have had such formal education. Another chapter of opportunities out of difficulties was my exile from Rwanda back in 2000. Imagine a moment how hard it will be to leave your native country, your family and friends for a foreign country whose language you don't speak. Imagine how hard it will be to leave behind everything you own, everyone you love, to go start over. It is beyond painful. My exile in 2000 stemmed from my position at the time as the Speaker of the Rwandan Parliament, as the head of the legislative branch of the government. I was elected Speaker in 1997, due in part to my education in Congo. Through my experience working at grassroots level, I believed the government should work for the people. With my memories of discrimination and genocide, I wanted to help build a rule of law to promote human rights for all Rwandans. My colleagues and I wanted to transform the parliament from a rubber stamp institution to an equal branch of government with effective oversight powers. One of the first issues that we took on was to have a law that will give the parliament the powers to control the executive branch of the government. Despite my multiple pleas, the president and his vice president persisted in their opposition to the bill, and the bill was vetoed. I ended up making one of the most difficult decisions in my life. I signed the bill into law using a constitutional provision that gave the Speaker the power to sign a bill into law if the President didn't sign it within 10 days. The 10 days had long passed. The implementation of the oversight law and other reforms turned the Parliament into an emerging, strong institution more than anyone had expected. The Parliament became increasingly popular. As Speaker, I too became so popular that the then Minister of Defense and Vice President, now the current President of Rwanda, saw me as a political threat. The then Vice President was the power behind the throne. He controlled the military, police, and intelligence services. He wanted me to resign. One day he told me bluntly, and I quote, "If you don't resign, I will get involved." End of the quote. And I understood the threat behind his words. Against my will, I resigned. I felt very bad. But I comforted myself with the belief that everything happens for a reason we can't understand at the moment. I welcomed my resignation as an opportunity to serve as an ordinary member of the parliament, shielded from the pressures associated with the role of speaker. About 2 weeks later, the opportunity to serve as an ordinary member of the parliament evaporated. I learned of a plot to kill me. I took the plot seriously because there had been cases of political assassination. I had to flee Rwanda. But how to flee when I still had bodyguards who patrolled the compound of my house under the guise of protecting me? And with the chief bodyguards who escorted me everywhere. Thanks to God, wonderful friends and relatives helped me to escape and to cross into Uganda. From Uganda, I came to the United States of America, to a land of opportunities. Although I didn't speak English and arrived with really no money, I had faith that my difficulties were vehicles to new opportunities. I had a positive attitude that everything would be fine. Class of 2014, a positive attitude is very effective. It gives you the pragmatism to accept what you can't change, the serenity to think creatively, and the audacity to knock on doors. Well, I knocked on doors, and opportunities began to unfold here at SIT. SIT admitted me into an intensive English program, then admitted me into a master's degree program with a full scholarship. I can't thank SIT enough, especially former World Learning President Jim Cramer and former Dean Jeff Ansika, who is here today. Thank you. Opportunities further expanded at SIT as I was offered to teach here in Vermont in the contact program headed by Dr. Paula Green, and in the Sustainable Development Master's degree in Washington, D.C., headed by Dr. Preeti Shroff Mehta. Because I had developed a passion for education, I eventually enrolled in a doctoral program and earned a PhD degree in 2010. My friends, I wouldn't have acquired this education if I hadn't been forced to leave Rwanda. I probably wouldn't have been able to serve society in many capacities without the difficulties I endured. So life's difficulties, as much as we wish they didn't happen, can be vehicles to opportunities. Even tragedies may lead to great opportunities in terms of building character and thinking outside the box. The tragedy that hit me the most taught me the most. That was the genocide in Rwanda in 1994. My loss in the genocide threw me into a darkness of bitterness and sadness, close to depression. For the first time in my life, I had severe insomnia and severe headaches, leading to wonder whether life made any sense. In the depth of darkness, I contemplated the destructive nature of anger and bitterness. I also explored a virtue that was despised in the Rwandan society, the virtue of forgiveness. Even though churches across Rwanda taught forgiveness, the Rwandan culture considered forgiveness a weakness and valued revenge as a sign of strength. But this culture of not forgiving wasn't helpful to me. So I had to examine the benefits of forgiveness. I discovered that forgiveness was a sweet, effective, and free medicine. The best medication to treat anger and desire for revenge was right inside myself. It is there inside each of us. I came to recognize that bitterness would destroy my health slowly and surely, that this bitterness could lead me to take revenge, thereby feeding the cycle of violence that had already gone from generation to generation. Forgiveness and compassion are the key safeguards against bitterness and are the core ingredients for healing, peace, and reconciliation. I believe it was the spirit of forgiveness that motivated me as a speaker not to take revenge but to push for reconciliation. I believe it was the spirit of forgiveness that prompted me to give money for food to a man in prison. The man was a former mayor of my home district and was accused of genocide. He couldn't believe a genocide survivor could show compassion to him. I truly believe that I wouldn't have discovered the power of forgiveness if I hadn't suffered so deeply. It is true that only when it is dark enough do you see the stars. The genocide was dark enough for me to see the stars of forgiveness and reconciliation. I wrote about forgiveness and reconciliation in my memoir, God Sleeps in Rwanda, A Journey of Transformation. I have spoken at many venues across the US. The feedback that I have received reveals that my story has inspired many people beyond Rwanda and the United States. For that, I am very grateful and humbled. Let me conclude with unforgettable words I received from my stepsister back in 2000. At the time, I was